Good to see you also.
Hello there, Miss Kimberly Ali. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good, thank you. I see that we have Rebecca Palatino on board, so I'm going to actually, excuse me, get started. All right, so my name is Yakisiwe Mitchell. I am a board member for the Black Administrators in Child Welfare. I'm actually the first vice president, and I'm on the executive team for the Sankofa Leadership Institute. And we are very pleased to convene you all for our midpoint check-in. And I apologize that my computer has a mind of its own, so advances and reverses slides just on its own. I apologize in advance. So welcome to you all. In case you all are wondering why we've asked you to be here, I'm not sure. I know that Angela was with us, and Miss Ali, were you with us in January for
I
our?
was.
Okay, I thought your background and your face looked familiar. But back in January, we launched our second cohort for the Sankofa Leadership Institute, and we had a sponsor orientation. And one of the things that we talked about is whether or not the group of sponsors wanted to get together again during the year. And the group said, yes, we certainly want to get together at least once more, somewhere around the midpoint. And you asked, and we made it happen. We wanted to have the opportunity to check in with you to find out what your experience has been, but also to let you hear from others about how they are serving in the capacity of sponsor, and also allow you the opportunity to ask us any questions that you may have about the program, about your role as sponsor. And so this is an opportunity for everyone to learn. I would like to do introductions because we do not all know each other. If you would introduce yourself, say what your role is and what organization you're with, and then select another person to introduce themselves. So I am going to, having introduced myself, I'm going to call on Angela Parks-Piles to introduce herself.
Thank you again, Dr. Mitchell. I'm just going to start calling you that from here on out. I am Angela Parks-Piles. I am a deputy director with the Department of Children and Family Services in Los Angeles County, which of course everyone knows that means the state of the county of Los Angeles. And so just happy to be here. Have been doing this work for now 3 decades, very proud of it. And for just this meeting, I'll let you know I'm the executive sponsor in the equity space, as well as transitional age youth. I actually onboarded the first Office of Equity as in child welfare, a standalone child welfare equity office, and many have followed suit. So I'm very, very proud of that. As well as leadership. I am one of the subject matter experts for not only our department, but jurisdictions across the nation as it relates to emerging leaders. And so my capacity here is that of a sponsor slash presenter. So as well as a very proud member of BACW. With that, I will pop it over to Kristen. Kristen, is that correct?
Hi, thank you. Oh, sorry. Well, hi, I'll go, and I'm Kristen Selleck, Dr. Kristen Selleck, since we were doing the doctor thing. And I am the Tailored Services Manager at the Capacity Building Center for States, which is a federally funded technical assistance provider. We provide capacity building and TA to public child welfare agencies, and I've been with the center for 8 years now, and have worked in child welfare and at the intersection of child welfare and domestic violence for 20 plus now. I'm just saying 20 plus for the rest of my career. That's the rule. So I'm really excited that we had the opportunity to come back together. I've been sponsoring someone on our team who is an extraordinary person who I'm grateful to spend that time with, and our work is really about grounding the advancement of racial equity and inclusion of lived experience into helping achieve improved outcomes in child welfare, and to do that in ways that work to address the harms that we have caused. So that's a little bit about me. I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and nice to see you all. And I'm going to turn it to Kimberly.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Kimberly Ali. I'm Commissioner for the Philadelphia Department of Human Services. So I'm responsible for child welfare, juvenile justice, and of course, prevention services. I am a sponsor. So I'm here today because I do have one of my deputy commissioners who is going through the Sankofa Institute and loves every minute of it. I view my role is really around, supporting her, through the process, and also utilizing some of the lessons that we've learned back in Philadelphia and the strategies that we're implementing in Philadelphia around our journey to become an anti-racist department. So thanks for having me, and I will kick it over to Christine.
Thank you. I'm Christine Beyer. I'm the Commissioner for New Jersey's Department of Children and Families. And I've been in this role for just a little over 5 years now. And but it's my second time at the department. I worked here, I don't know, I did a stint between my 2 times at the department at Casey Family Programs for about 6 years, but had been in various leadership positions in New Jersey's child welfare system starting in 2003, and worked in the private sector before that. So I am a sponsor in this administration for the last 5 years. We really are have been implementing a lot that we are trying to get fully embedded and make it as sustainable as possible with regard to building an anti-racist system, really trying to work through breaking down a lot of the structural racism that has existed both within our CPS division, but also just throughout government and wherever we are trying to be helpful. But, sometimes it's not very helpful to families. And so there's a lot that we have implemented and been working to implement. But I've sponsored, this is actually the second person now in this cohort that I've sponsored. The first cohort was Benita Miller, who is like an executive on loan. And I think Benita is actually a coach maybe now this year. And now Florence Racine, who is our director of equity, diversity, and belonging here at DCF. And Florence is, although she has worked here for 20 plus years. This is, she's the first director of this new office that we created a few years ago. And so I think, just hearing from her how helpful it's been. One of the things that, I thought was, so impactful was Florence saying to me, this is the first time I've been in a room of all Black leaders, right? Like never in my career have I had the opportunity, never. And so, I think that is really powerful and really helps advance not only, how staff kind of feel about themselves, how they show up in the work, but then how Florence is able to bring that back to other Black leaders within, or emerging Black leaders within New Jersey. So I'll stop there, but happy. This is my first of having sponsored 2 people. This is my first opportunity to actually connect with you all. So happy I was able to do it today. And I think, am I passing it to Lisa? I don't know. I don't see pictures, but
Sorry. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Lisa Chambers, and I'm here as a board member to BACW. I hold the position of secretary on the board. So it's just great to see most of you all. Nice to see you again, Angela. It's been a while. Angela, I was just in North Carolina together. So happy to see everyone this afternoon. And I'll turn it back over to Yakisiwe if Rebecca has not gone yet.
Yeah, I did not go yet, Lisa.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, because I chimed in a little bit late. I wasn't certain. So
No,
I'll turn
that's
it over
okay.
to Rebecca.
Thanks, Lisa. I'm Rebecca Palatino. I'm the Assistant Deputy Director for Children, Youth, and Families in Allegheny County. I was asked to speak today a little bit about sponsorship, so I'll reserve my comments for then, but nice to see everybody.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all sharing your, not only your roles and the organizations that you work for, but also some of the groundbreaking work that you've done. And just want to express my appreciation on behalf of BACW for your courageous sponsorship, especially since we are in a time when in some states you're not even allowed to say race. And so we want to acknowledge that it's not easy. It's not easy for Black people. It's not easy for white people, right? And so we honor you for partnering with us to advance this very important work. So let's talk a little bit about the background of Sankofa. So why do we do this? A lot of you have alluded to it in your comments, but here's the purpose. And you guys have seen, I hope that you have seen what we shared in the sponsors handbook. I think we emailed that to you. So I'm not going to read you all of what's on the screen. What I will read is the mission statement, which is to ensure a pipeline of equipped leaders who are prepared to abolish racist practices and lead with reimagined visions of more inclusion and diverse anti-racist child welfare practices. So that is a mouthful, but that is why we are here. That is why we do this work. Although BACW had not articulated this mission prior to creating the Sankofa Institute, if you were to read our minutes, if you were to read our position papers, you would see a lot of this language there, because BACW had an informal leadership development training process or leadership development process decades before we were able to launch Sankofa. And so we applaud Dr. Sharon McDaniel for her leadership in actually bringing the BACW model to fruition through the Sankofa Institute. So just a little bit about what it is that we're doing. You'll see these interconnected circles. So we are looking to create a reality where there is race equity policy to practice delivery consistently. We're looking to increase equitable representation. We're looking to eliminate systemic and institutional racism. I'm going to say that again. We are looking to eliminate systemic and institutional racism. And then we look to provide, promote, develop authentic engagement to advance equity. So how does it work? Got this wonderful graphic that's not showing up on my screen, and I don't know why. Okay, so these are some bullet points. So we engage with a wide variety of professionals. Some of you mentioned that this is your second time sponsoring a member of the cohort. I just was able to talk with the mentors earlier, and talked about the importance of this idea of exposure and engagement with a wide range of professionals from academia, business, and child welfare. So our faculty for Sankofa is really diverse in terms of representing different areas. And I think that's one of the benefits of the program, because we're not just giving people information on child welfare, right? We focus on branding and marketing. We focus on political and how to navigate political systems, public relations. We also have some university professors who are working with the cohort members around data and working with people with lived experience, just to name a few of the things that we focus on. So our programming is individualized. We use coaching and mentoring that I mentioned, but the great part about it is that it can be applied, and it is applied often in real time. Folks have personal development plans looking at how they can be a better leader. And that's important because, of course, we know that not everyone comes with the same skill set. So we need to craft the learning experiences to the leader. We pay attention to business acumen that is necessary in the field, especially as it relates to strategic planning and program implementation. And then we have an intentional race equity framework, which is critical for Black leaders to become effective in order to maneuver systems and institutions. So here is our graphic. This is a lot, we realize, but just want to kind of show you what our thinking is about how this works, right? So we really focus, if you look at the top left, we're really focusing on developing, mentoring, and sponsoring. That's your role. This is what we do in terms of input. We are not only engaging with the cohort, but working with them to engage others in systems, because ultimately what we want to do is have our engagement efforts impact Black and Brown families through an anti-racist lens. And so our training development is strategic. We have mentor-based partnerships. I think Rebecca is one who is actually serving in the capacity of mentor and sponsor. But we have very critical roles for each of those. And the great part is that she's able to manage both roles really well. So she's going to share with you a little bit later about what her experience has been as a sponsor. So let's look at who we have in our 2023 cohort. So we have 13 members of this cohort. 5 of them are executive, 3 mid-level, 2 have identified as emerging. 2 of them are executives in their mid-career, and then some are mid-career but emerging. 1 is mid-career but emerging. 2 of our cohort members are male and 11 are female. The education level, most of our cohort members have a master's degree. We have 2 who are pursuing doctoral studies, and 2, I think, are pursuing or have a bachelor's degree. And then in terms of our regional representation, most of the members of the cohort come from the East Coast in the house. Midwest, we've got a few folks here on the West Coast, and folks from Texas. We have 2 folks from Texas, I believe. And then we have a really good public and private split this year. So it's 7-6 private and public. So this is what, based on the 6 sessions that we've done this year, folks have said that based on what they read in the course descriptions, the sessions have met their expectations for the most part. And this is consistent with what they communicated to us last year. So we're doing well in terms of achieving what we set out to achieve, especially as it is received by the intended, by the cohort members. And then this is a part that's always interesting to me, right? When people get all this knowledge, where do they think they're able to apply it? So those top two areas, they say 30% say they're going to apply it in their strategic planning, then in their professional leadership growth, day-to-day work, and then in their working relationships. So again, this is about theory to practice, right? We are working with folks to help them learn, but also to apply what they've learned in real time. So our data so far indicate that is going well. All right, so we wanted to just let you all know, I'm not sure whether you all have heard that this is possible, especially for the public entities. But in Pennsylvania, in 2022, through with the help of Wamazetta Jones, who's a strategic consultant, a managing director, helped to put Sankofa in Pennsylvania's 4E training plan. So the curriculum, the program actually qualifies for, I think, 50 to 75% tuition fee reimbursement, but it's got to be in the state plan. And so we wanted to just tell you that we were able to work with the state of Pennsylvania to give them the information they needed to add it to their 4E training plan. It's important that we let people know that this is a possibility, because once they hear that this is it's a race equity effort that has some cost associated with it, people get concerned that it might be cost prohibitive. But maybe if you knew that you could put it in your 4E plan, that might make it more accessible. So back in January of 2022, that's when the leaders were actually accepted into the cohort. We began engaging them, and I say we because BACW was working with a team of folks who were reaching out to folks in Pennsylvania about how to get the reimbursement, because prior to that, we had obtained from the Administration for Children and Families approval for reimbursement, but now we've got the approval. How do you actually help folks get to it? And so spring and summer, it was around educating and advocating for folks to get it put into their plan so that they could claim reimbursement. And then in November, we were able to work with some state officials to submit the required application so that it could be included in the plan. And I realized that you would not be able to read all of this, but we just want you to see kind of what the form looks like. So it's branded for the state of Pennsylvania, but no matter which state you're in, the information that they ask you is pretty much the same. And so we wanted to just provide that for you so that you're aware that it is a possibility. Okay. Yeah, that is really good to know, right, Kristen? And the other reason that we share this with you is because you guys have extensive networks. And so you know that the folks that you've had in the previous and current cohort are really benefiting, and you're seeing what they're learning show up, right, in the work that they're doing. So you can share with your network what a great opportunity this is, and that there is the possibility of reimbursement if we can get Sankofa into the state plan. Okay. what questions or comments do you guys have about any of what I've shared so far?
Ikisaway, this is Angela. I think that Dr. Dukes is working with our department. I don't know if she's on or not, but I think that she's working with someone because this is amazing, for us all. And I did see someone even put in the chat, that this is really good to know. I know I was excited when I heard about it.
Yeah.
So we're working to, get it infused into our training program. The other thing I did want to say, because I didn't get an opportunity to do it when she was speaking to Christine, it really resonated with me what Florence went back and shared with her. So I just wanted the opportunity to thank her for uplifting that. It is so important, and for her to acknowledge, Florence sharing that and to then impart it to us. So I did want to just give a shout out for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela, for both of those points. So I will follow up with Dr. Dukes about kind of the status, because depending on, well, so let me say this. We know that it's not what we learned is that it's not necessarily, quote unquote, an easy process, but it's certainly beneficial, right? And we want to walk it alongside you to provide the technical assistance that you need to make it happen, right? And in LA, as Angela mentioned, not only could LA be a state because of size, but looking at complexity, there's complexity within the county system, then complexity at the state level. So kudos to you, Angela, for really moving that work forward through Dr. Dukes. So Dr. Alan Michael Graves, you have joined us. Hello.
Hello, everybody, and I apologize. I'm in the middle of a training, but I said I gotta take a break and put these guys on break while I at least chimed in to say hello to those who are sponsoring such important work.
Thank you, Dr. Graves.
Hi, Kristen, Christine, Kimberly, Rebecca, Angela.
So Dr. Graves is a fatherhood expert. He's a foundation VP, and he's also the treasurer for the Black administrators in child welfare. So I tell people he has 25 jobs because he's always, anytime we meet, he is in between training. And the cool part about that is he is training on fatherhood work and how to engage fathers, the importance of race equity work as well. So got to give you a shout out, Dr. Graves.
And keeping LA County holding us accountable and keeping us straight. Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. So I think that we are at the point where Angela and Rebecca are going to share what they have experienced as sponsors. There are 3 key things that I've asked them to talk about. That is the time investment, the high level of commitment to the development of the person you're sponsoring. Well, hello, Keith Bostic. It's so good to see you, Mr. President. We have our president joining us. This is really a great thing.
Good afternoon, everybody. And I am excited to be here. Sorry for my delay. I was on another meeting, but it is awesome to see these sponsors and show your level of commitment and just love for the students or participants that we have going through this cohort 2. BACW thanks you immensely, and we're proud of your investment into our emerging and current and future leaders. It is through that investment and through that joint walk that you have with them that will hopefully continue to propel our efforts toward transforming this child welfare into a child well-being, and that we can do it because our families need us and our families depend on us. So once again, just thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Keith Bostic. And the funny part is when he showed up, I'm thinking he showed up as president, which is a great thing, but he's actually a sponsor. He actually sponsored one of the cohort members. So great to see you.
You're welcome.
So we've got about 15 more minutes. For 7.5 of those, I would like for Angela Park-Piles and Rebecca Palatino to split time telling you about how they have served in the role of sponsor. When they are done, we will open it up for questions and then we'll close out. Okay.
Thanks, Shakisiwe. And thanks for asking me to be here. I'm really happy to share my experience so far. You know, I have a responsibility, I think we all do, to develop leaders of color with intention. And when I think about Sankofa, it has been one of the best tools in my tool belt to do so. I have been a sponsor since its inception, and my strategy in its inaugural year was to put several candidates forward who had social capital in our ERG groups, our Black empowerment groups. What I really wanted was to utilize their voices with their peers. And it really created this amazing buy-in to the point where we are now looking at developing sort of a competitive process with how folks get in to the Institute. So it has certainly taken off in Allegheny County, and the word on the street, as they say, about Sankofa has just been unbelievable. When I think about the 3 areas of a sponsor, the time investment, like we all know, time poverty is real, and we don't always have a lot of time, particularly in our roles. But I suggest that the return on your investment is absolutely priceless. A high level of commitment kind of goes hand in hand. We put our time where we value. And so using that level of commitment, I think, has paid dividends. Our first class out of year 1 of Sankofa is actually in the process of implementing their strategy they developed in Sankofa across our entire agency. I think the other critical component is being transparent with your sponsees. And I believe you do that through being in relationship. I think that makes it so much easier to give that critical feedback. Some examples I'll use of specific and tangible ways that I have demonstrated these things is through giving folks a seat at the table in rooms that maybe they have not been privileged to in the past. As well as exposure to not only people, but to other bodies of work across the Department of Human Services and Child Welfare. And then finally, I would say the linkage and connection to my network. Even folks who maybe don't want to grow their career with Allegheny County, but possibly in the private sector with one of our providers, I am happy to still make those connections and get those people access to my network. I will turn it over to Angela before we have a conversation, I believe.
So thank you so much for that, Rebecca. Perfect segue. And for me, you know, how we differ a bit is that, so for years now, the last 20 to be exact, and even with Alan Michael, probably for about the last 10, we have had a fertile ground for what is now been realized as the Emerging Leaders Institute. I say that, I call it our volunteer army. You know, we have those that are boots on the ground, we have senior leaders, and then executive leaders such as myself. And we have formed quite a network with the community leading and us listening. And that has been the key to our success. But what was missing, and we've had this talk often, not only with Alan Michael, we've had it with Keesaway, and certainly with Sharon, just about the leadership and emerging leaders in a place such as Florence mentioned to Christine and her colleagues, for those that look like, talk like, act like, you know, that are in leadership positions, and what I call actually having a seat at the table. So when you talk about the time investment, where I echo Rebecca, Put your money where your mouth is. That's been something that for me has always been paramount. I am known as being very unapologetic about being an African American woman. I wouldn't want to be anything any differently, and I make sure that I am honored and respected in whatever space that I sit in, because I believe that it is incumbent on me to ensure that I get what I deserve. And so, with that said, very intentional about my mentoring, not only in Sankofa, but on a daily basis. We know what's going on. Yakisaway alluded to it and basically said it. We are living in a times that I don't think any of us thought that we would see, where, all the hard fought and, supposedly won victories that are just slipping away quickly. But the reality is, if you're an African American, you already know that they never were there in the first place. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm very, very transparent, and I don't mince words. So I say that, in an introduction to really talk about what the level of commitment looks for. And then I heard somebody mention sustainability. As a leader, if you're not making space and place for those that not only are walking beside you, but that will absolutely be left when you transition on, then you're not really a leader, you're just a manager, And for me, that is something that is heartfelt for me, because I'm certainly, at some point getting ready to transition on to the next, okay? And just to make sure that there are those that I have left, that they don't have to do it the way that I do it, but certainly understand the value. And I heard Rebecca talk about the value of what needs to be done. But as I look at all of you on here, I implore, especially our allies, to ensure that it is a safe space. And I don't mean that only in word, I mean that in advocacy. And as I sit here today and I hear you, I heard Christian and I heard Christine, and that's why I wanted to shout it out, because to be bold enough to say, okay, that this has resonated and that I am coming back for a whole nother year, to ensure that this is being done, that is something that is really showing up and showing exactly where you stand. Just to say it is really not enough. And so I call it mentoring a volunteer army of good trouble servant leaders. And so, that's when I talk about branding and the investment, and many of your sponsees that were here from my branding and mentoring that I just did a couple of weeks ago that Lisa mentioned, we talked about the volunteer army, and they asked me, how do you create this army? Because, in this work, you can become weary and well doing. That's a real thing. And the way that you are able to continue to move forth, you must have those that walk with you. And what I shared with them, it's in your show up. It's in the way you show up. Those that walk with me and have toiled with me through the years, they are there because they want to be. They don't have to be. And the other thing that's very important when you talk about being transparent, I share this often, not only with those that I lead with, and we again servant leaders, but in those that I share with, I had more power before I became an executive. I had more power before I had a seat at the table. What I mean by that is when you're talking about being transparent, which is another area that Yakisaway asked for us to lean in, it is being comfortable with who you are, having honest and critical feedback in a meaningful way. It is not what you say, it's how you say it. But more importantly, it is the way they see you show up every single day, not sugarcoating. If I really care about you, I'm going to be honest with you. And if you're not ready, I'm going to tell you you're not ready, but not just leave you with you're not ready. Then we're going to lean in on what is it that I can do. Whether it's Sankofa, I love what Rebecca said, make it competitive. This holds value. It just does. It should be effortless in the way that you show up. You don't manage, you lead. And you lead without fear. Again, you want to provide a soft landing and a safe space. I could talk about this all day long, but I'm looking at the time and I do want to really leave these 4 minutes for any questions. And I'm sure this won't be the last of our meetings. So again, thank you for this space, Dr. Mitchell, as well as Dr. Graves, and you as well, Keith. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Angela. So I had asked Angela and Rebecca to facilitate any discussions or any questions that might come up. So wonderful, wonderful job, ladies. Thank you.
I have a question about, I had said this was the second person from New Jersey, like Florence is the second person that we had go through Sankofa. And I'm just wondering from your perspective, is there like a sweet spot in terms of where the person should be in their, leadership, or is it really early on as they're just emerging as a leader? I think I had said Florence is someone who's been working with us for 20 plus years in child welfare, but this is a new leadership role that she's helping to roll out, this diversity, equity, and belonging, for the whole department and beyond. And so it felt like that this was the right time. But I'm wondering if there's, I don't know, something else that you would say.
Yeah, like a sweet spot, right?
Yeah,
right. And so I'll let Rebecca go, and then I'll answer, because actually,
I think the beauty of
about that.
Yeah, the beauty of Sankofa is I think it could be anywhere on the spectrum of where that person is, based on sort of what you see in that person, what their goals are, and sort of where they see themselves. I, in my opinion, think it could be any level. That's my opinion.
I just didn't know if, I'm sorry, Angela. I'm asking that also because I don't want to send someone who then is really junior and so just has no experience to bring to the table. It would be a good learning for them, but then maybe they're not able to give to others in terms of the conversation and so that's what I was wondering, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, Christine, it's a both and everybody knows I'm just a both and guru. So first of all, I agree with Rebecca, but I want to say to you, that's absolutely who you want to send. You absolutely want to send. I see the minimum of 10 years, but you want to send that emerging leader. You want to send that person that you already see. They've been mentored, they've been coached. As I'm looking at Sankofa, even last year and this year, I often think back on what Florence said, to have been in a room 20 years ago with those that look just like me. I got there, but you better know it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of missteps, and there was a whole lot that I could have learned from an institute such as this. To be able to be in a room together with your experiences, your diversities, different jurisdictions, and just to be thought partners around leadership. Yeah. And then for Florence, someone that is emerging into a new role. Yes, you want that person there. It's so interesting, Christine. She asked the same question because she is, obviously on the back end. And she asked me point blank, what did I see personally for her? And when I finished explaining to her, especially as she's moving into the DEI role, brand new, set in ways that need to pivot, we are always learning. So I agree with Rebecca wholeheartedly. It is across the spectrum, but I do want to do a plug for emerging leaders though. So important for them.
If I could just hop in really quick, right? Christine, hi. You and I were on a panel together recently.
Yeah, we were. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I've been doing work with the Department of Children and Family Services probably going on 15, 20 years. And Angela will tell you early on, I sat at the table as somebody from the outside and I saw emerging leaders that wasn't there forever. I saw people who had that passion and that hunger at the table that I said, oh, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, but had no way to get there. They had no table to sit at. And so, Yakisi, Dr. Mitchell just dropped in there 10 years. I'm also of the mindset of if they've been there 7 and they're doing more than the person that's been there 10 and they got the stronger, we need to be considering them too. So yes, at every level, I've met with CSAs. I've met with assistant regional administrators, all the way up the line that I said, ooh, with the right tools, because I'll tell you, I see with especially African Americans, sometimes we don't get the opportunities to learn some of the things that others do. Like I see organizations and systems folding because we were never taught about branding. We were never taught or invited to the table about budgeting and financing. That can stop a future emerging leader. And so whatever is needed for that person to continue doing what they want to do for their community, I think the door should be open for them at whatever level they come in. Sorry.
No,
You didn't ask.
and I have no. That was great. I know we're at time, but keep. I have to jump on here with Dr. Grace. I know we're thinking about the same person. So there is a person, and I just want to share this with you guys because I'm not only talking about this because I think it is because I know it and I've done it. And the highest ranking Black man right now in our department, which is an executive deputy director that sits alongside me. Well, I chose him 25 years ago. And to Dr. Gray's credit, I knew then. I nobody could understand why I would choose this meek African-American male in transparency. His process was investigated, like, is he really ready? Why would you put him into leadership and management? Again, now he is the highest ranking Black man. And I have mentored him his entire career and made a space for him and a soft landing. And Dr. Graves and Yakiswe can speak to it. I saw it 20 years ago, to his point. So, don't shortchange yourself. And so with that, again, I'll leave it there.
Well, I think, and so Keith has raised his hand and I want him to have the last word for us. Thank you also for this rich discussion. It's your judgment, right? You guys got to where you are because you're able to judge character, potential, right? But a key role of the sponsor is to create that opportunity, right? Is to create the opportunity for people who would not normally have been seen to be exposed to opportunities where they can be seen, but also to help them prepare to step into those opportunities, right? And so it's about that judgment. And that is why we say it could be emerging, mid, executive. It's for everybody, like Dr. Graves said. Yeah, we say 10 years, but you're absolutely right, Dr. Graves. If it's 7, we're not necessarily stuck on the time. We're looking at the quality, the potential, right? The development potential for those applicants. And we depend on you, right, to recommend those folks. Keith?
Well, great. Awesome conversation. And Christine, what a great question that should be on the minds of all of our sponsors. What I will say in ending is that I think the recipe is when opportunity meets will.
Mm-hmm.
I think that those combination and that convergence of when opportunity meets will is the sweet spot. And I'll reflect back to 1971 when the establishment of BACW. It took courageous Black leaders who were at all levels, from a director to mid-level to supervisor, to be bold and courageous and say, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for others to see me in this prescribed leader role. And it was a group of them that took the stage in 1971 at the Child Welfare League of America and took the mic from the chair and said, when will you address the issues of Black children and the leaders that are engaged in child welfare? And so they could not wait. And so sometimes that opportunity is presented by others, and sometimes you have to grasp that opportunity. And so we thank you all for your attention to providing those opportunities. And just lastly, I had a conversation with 3 of the founding members of BACW a week ago. And they are so excited about seeing the Sankofa Leadership Institute come to fruition. It does their heart wonders to know that there's the pouring in and development, and therefore, hopefully, an investment and a commitment that there will forever be African American leaders in the space of change. And so I thank you all. I thank you for your leadership. I thank you for your vision. I thank you for your support. I thank you for all that you do for children across this country. With that, you know, BACW loves you and loves your individuals that you have sent forward. So anything that we could do, we will help you and we will assist you. Thank you so much. I turn it back over to you, Yakisi Way. And
Thank you. So we're over time, but it was so rich. And we will certainly be reaching out to you between now and the end of this Sankofa cohort, which is in December. Please mark your calendars. Plan to be present if you can for the December 14th and 15th capstone presentations and graduation in North Carolina at Johnson C. Smith University. And coming up, you'll start seeing announcements next month about our application process for the next cohort. So please be thinking of people that you would like to sponsor, and please let your network know about this opportunity and the opportunity even to access 4E training dollars. Okay. Thank you all. This was a wonderful meeting.
Thank you.
No,
Have a
thank
great week.
you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Have a wonderful
Bye-bye.
week.
All
Nice
right.
seeing you all. Bye-bye.